Hello, welcome to the At the Races preview of the William Hill Galway Plate, and here to discuss what's going to be another fantastic race, David Duggan, our resident Irish expert, is here. Galway is always fantastic. It's going to be even better this year with a brand spanking new grandstand, David.
Yeah, it'll be a fantastic meeting for them as ever at Ballybrit this year, Robert. And the new stand, the Killannon stand, opened by Bertie Hearn there a couple of months ago, named in honour of Lord Killannon, who was a local resident, of course, the father of Mouse Morris and former chairman of the Olympic Committee, a man who held Galway in very, very high esteem, and it's nice to see they named the stand after him. But it will be a terrific facility, and everything at Ballybrit seems to be going forward and forward all the time.
I wonder if there's a bar named after Ansar. He's won two Galway Plates. He's won a Galway hurdle. There must be one somewhere.
Well, there should be, because he's been such a fantastic horse at Galway over the years. His campaign and everything is geared up towards Galway, and he really has been a stalwart of the wild team, even though he's 11 years of age now.
We will be looking at him very closely, but Ansar very much part of the recent history of the Galway Plate.
Life Ballard on the near side of Bishop's Hall. They're cleared of Kingwall Glory. Life Ballard, Bishop's Hall fighting back, but Life Ballard has the advantage as they race up to the line. Back-to-back wins in the Galway Plate for Life Ballard. Charlie Swan got it right this time. Life Ballard wins in Bishop's Hall second. Amlah is the leader as they race up to the line. Amlah going to win the Galway Plate, the first British trained winner of this big handicap. Amlah and Brendan Powell win it by a wide margin.
They're racing now to the final 200 yards. Grimes and Conor O'Dwyer holding Cairns and Diwali, last year's winner, up towards the finish. Grimes wins the compact plate for JP McManus and Christy Rhodes. Ansar all out, holding the challenges. Brisk excess of the top weight, lunging late for Tony McCoy. Ansar and David Casey. Ansar wins the plate for David Casey and Dermot Wells. It is Ansar in the lead for Dennis O'Regan, out clear of Your Son Man in second with Warren's Castle. Then comes Junior Fontaine, but Ansar back-to-back wins in the Galway Plate for Dermot Wells. Dennis O'Regan punches the air. It's Far From Trouble and Roger Loughlin deputising for Tony McCoy. Gonna win for JP McManus and Christy Rhodes. Ansar is foiled in his bid for 3 in a row.
Far From Trouble winning the race 12 months ago, beating, of course, Ansar, who'd won it the 2 previous years. So going back, some great names there, going back to Amlah, who won it back in 98, Life of a Lord back in 96. So some great names.
Great names, and look at Aidan O'Brien, who concentrates almost solely now on the flat, and he won it all those years ago as well with Life of a Lord. It was a really, really good horse when he was, of course, champion national hunt trainer. But English runners do have a decent enough record in the race, as was shown there with Amlah, but very, very competitive. Top
bookmakers William Hill are sponsors of the Galway Plate, and let's see how they bet for this year's renewal. You can see there William Hill have joint favourites currently at 8-1, Cool Running and Ansar. Pacolet is 10-1, Emotional Article is 10-1, Your Son Man, who we've seen in good action, 11-1 with Sir Frederick, 12-1 Connor Castle, Yes Sir, Peter Bowen's 14s, and onwards and upwards the others, as they say. So Cool Running and Ansar are joint favourites. Well, let's start with Ansar, because he's a fantastic race, and here he is in the Galway Plate going back 2 years. This is when he beat Your Son Man. Dennis O'Regan, who was claiming in those days, was on board. He just loves the track.
Loves the track and really appreciates the stiff uphill finish there at Galway. Really comes alive when he gets to Ballybrit. It was a great ride by Dennis O'Regan on this occasion. As you say, when he was claiming, he's really gone through the ranks himself. Dennis O'Regan, a top-class jockey now. That was a really, really good performance indeed by Ansar, possibly when he was at his very, very best.
I'm going to say the big question, he was a 9-year-old there, a spring-heeled 9-year-old, but now he's 11 years old. Is his age catching up with him, do you think? Are there signs
There's always a possibility it might catch up with him, although he did run very well at Killarney there recently on the level. He was second to Armonti. That was a good performance.
It was a good run, wasn't it? On very soft ground.
Yeah, and they really do look after him and target him solely towards Galway. So you'd have to say, although he's had in his lifetime 55 starts, he hasn't been overly raced.
Well, we saw Boots Madden's horse there, Your Son Man finishing second to Ansar. Well, let's look at Your Son Man in much more recent form. This is at Down Royal, winning in fact the Galway Plate trial. The ground completely different. This is when we did have a whisper of a summer. Firm ground, beating Bravery by 6 lengths and giving the runner-up over a stone.
Yeah, it was a good performance this day by Your Son Man. He's clearly very, very decent indeed. He beats Bravery by 6 lengths. Breffney Flyer back in third. Hunchin Paddy Cassidy all in behind. This is when he rose to run in the Madden's own colours before JP McManus bought him. Decent horse with solid claims and seems to act around the track.
One with a fly weight, only in the handicap 8 stone 9. I wonder will Phelan's Fancy get in? Well, if he does, he must have a chance. Here he is running at Limerick and winning here on yielding ground, a 2.5 mile chase, beating Arc-en-Ciel by a head. A bit of support for Phelan's Fancy.
And not really surprising at all. He's ridden this day by the excellent Mikey O'Connor. He really is a very, very good amateur indeed. His father trains this horse for him as well. He beats Arc-en-Ciel by a head on this occasion. Possibly doesn't look the most stylish in a finish, but he's extremely effective. Emily Abbey back in third, John James in fourth. It was just a very, very good, solid performance. Phelan's Fancy stays all day as well. If he does get into the race, he'd certainly have a chance.
Now, if you're looking for a young, up-and-coming horse, 7-year-old is the next one we look at, trained by Tom Taff, Emotional Article. We can go. This is his first steeplechase actually here. This is at Fairyhouse. He wins this beginner's chase and seems to take to fences pretty well. I know that you fancy him a bit.
I do. I think he's just the type that could really excel around Galway. This was a very impressive chasing debut at Fairyhouse.
He's been beaten since, though.
He has been beaten since, but he made a dreadful mistake very early on in that race at Limerick, and he was lucky to stay on his feet. Ruby Walsh on board on that occasion. Adrian Joyce was on board this day when he beats the useful Hillamar Hotel by 8 lengths. He jumped very, very well indeed, Robert. He then went to Limerick, and whilst he was beaten, he did make a bad mistake early on. He's a very decent type, Emotional Article. Pretty good dual-purpose horse. He's got plenty of pace as well. Whilst he hasn't got the most experience in the field, he couldn't be at a better address than Tom Taff's.
Well, a horse that comes into the race in great form is Christy Roach's representative, Cool Running, another young up-and-coming horse. He's also only a 7-year-old. He's rattled up a hat-trick over fences. Here he wins at Fairyhouse, a 2.5 mile chase, beating Man Joe by 4.5 lengths. He looks to be a horse going places.
Very much so, Robert. He's only a 7-year-old as well. He hasn't had that many starts, 12 in total in his lifetime, and he's won 5 of those and been placed on 3. A nice horse, Cool Running. This was a good performance at Fairyhouse where he beats Manjo. Dosco in behind in third, Sense of Awareness back and forth. It was a good performance and he did it really well indeed. Jumped particularly well and looks an ideal type for the Galway Plate.
Okay, we've seen a few of the contenders there. It's not as simple as that. I think you hope we might have seen the winner there. The joint favourites, Cool Running and Ansar, at 8-1. But Emotional Article, I've got a feeling you got a little glint in your eye when we looked at that one.
I think that at this early stage, 2 against the field I'd be looking at would be Emotional Article and possibly Phelan's Fancy, who I think is going the right way. But you'd have to probably stick with Emotional Article. I just feel that he's got youth on his side, lacking slightly in experience, but he's certainly going the right way and impressed me on his jumping debut at Fairyhouse.
One thing's for sure, it's going to be a terrific race. Many thanks for clicking on attheraces.com, looking at our William Hill Galway Plate preview.